Welcome to the grim, lawless 23rd century, following the fall of U.S. Gov and mass depopulation of major cities at the hands of the multi-trillionaire DeHuberton family. Baptized in radioactive hellfire, a rare mutation makes Turbo a fiercely pumped scrapper, haunted by specters from her past, surviving the post-apocalyptic wasteland one deathmatch pit fight at a time. But when she rescues the stunning trophy girl, the unlikely duo are thrust into a harrowing odyssey, evading marauding berserkers at every turn on their way to the ultimate showdown as they uncover the horrific truth behind the fall of humanity.
All right, good morning, Jake. How you feeling?
Hey Kurt, and hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Making Turbo Pitfighter, post-apocalyptic sci-fi comic that we are in the middle of making. We're plotting, we're penciling, we're inking, and I'm continuing the digitalization where we're just kind of doing some tweaks here. I'm still, I haven't been able to do too much progress during the week because I'm moving, but just been going page through page, just kind of tweaking the lettering to make sure that it's nice and readable.
Yeah, and what you're speaking about is our second Turbo Pitfighter teaser, first 12 pages. So, what page are you on right now?
So this is page 11.
All right, good. So you only have one more page then.
Yeah, I worked on a page a little bit late last night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, last week we spoke about. So this is high res WYSIWYG here. So I'm zooming much farther in than anybody could ever look, at a comic. But I last week, remember I mentioned that I was wondering about the scanner here because some of these lines look a little patchy. I don't know if it's the scanner or if something was done afterwards, on purpose, but this is what I'm getting on my end, like really rich blacks here and then really kind of light tones here. So
what page is that?
That's page 11. I think
that's on purpose because that's been airbrushed because she's behind glass. Let me get the original.
But it also gets the panel border too, right?
Page 11. See that? You said page 11?
Yeah, what I can do here is I can hold on, first I have to. So the first thing I do is just kind of like grab all these layers and just merge them so that there's only two layers, the background art and all this other stuff. So I'm just going to hit merge visible. This is how I start.
Yeah, this is the page you're talking about right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so just little things like that. Like Kurt definitely lightened up the tube that the trophy girl is in to make it look like she's illuminated, which I like. But it's all. I'm just gonna darken the panel border here because it looks like the airbrush included the panel border, which is just supposed to be a holding line for the action. So I'm going to use my magic wand here and just go down the length of it. Yeah, I mean, these are the little things that we should probably be doing later, because the teaser is kind of like a rough cut, right?
Oh, it's definitely a rough cut.
But I'm right here right now, so I figure what the hell. How was your week, Kurt?
Oh, good. The only thing I really have to chat up a bit is on YouTube. I have a bunch of B-movie exploitation playlists from other people saved, and occasionally I'll just sit down and just kind of scroll through and find something. And one of the playlists was called Hippies, and because I like the way hippies talk. And So, like groovy man, not my bag. Give me some
You
bread,
mean like
all that kind of
nowadays
stuff.
hippies
No, no,
or
no. Back then, like
the
'60s
original?
hippies and stuff. Yeah, I like when they're all thing.
Right.
So, one of the movies, well, I ended up watching the movie, which was called Eggshell,
Okay.
which, I just took a flat chance on, and I was thoroughly floored. Now, get this. I go and do some research. Do you know who Toby Hooper is?
No.
Tobehooper. Me neither. That's what comes up in the credits. Said, Eggshell by, writer director Toby Hooper. So I look up Toby Hooper. He's the guy who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
What do you mean
And
he
let
did it?
me,
Was he the director?
yeah, he's the creator. He's the guy that came up with the original slasher film, I guess is what they call the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, that's a classic horror
But
movie, right? With
but
Leatherface
this
that
was
kicked off a
the
series.
yeah, the thing that like attracted me, like kept me held to the movie was these hippies live in this house, and there's nothing like uh, there's two couples and a guy, and they just live in this house, and I think it's like in Georgia or Texas or something like that. Yeah, I think it is in Texas, Dallas. But anyway, they're living their lives. They have friends over, and there's a new couple based on the other girl's friend coming to visit, and she ends up staying and getting with the other guy and such. So anything, but there's something going on in their basement. And I don't really want to ruin it. I'll put a link down
Okay.
in the description, but I don't want to totally categorize it as cosmic horror. It was more like cosmic funky, but it rode on the line of um, time and space, and the shots were really really well done, other than a couple of like just let's say a character establishing shots in a situation, or there was obviously no script. He just had them talk about certain things and they would do that. Not as exciting, but when he seemed to be on his own to really tell the story, Toby Hooper,
Hmm.
really well done. And this was his first movie, 1969, Eggshell. So,
Wow.
yeah. And of course, I think 76 or 7 or something is when he does um, Texas Chainsaw
Leatherface.
Massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, talk about taking a chance and like really falling down a rabbit hole and getting inspired too, by the way. I mean, it was just very inspiring as a creative.
Sounds good. I last night I saw Iron Claw, which is I think an award-winning movie about the life of the Von Erich family of wrestlers, and it's been I think one of the year's big grossing movies and critically acclaimed. It's pretty well done. It's a true life story about the family of crazy wrestlers that starts around '79 and goes through like the mid '80s.
Wow.
They Zach Efron, the former teen heartthrob from what is it, from Disney's High School Musical, is become like the next um, serious actor. So he bulked up for this role,
Oh,
and
wow.
that was pretty interesting. Also, the yeah, I don't know if you watched The Bear, the series about the Chicago restaurant, but the lead actor in The Bear also bulked up, and so they were all, there was all these Von Erich brothers, and they were like really ripped, and I think they allude to steroid use in the movie, so it's torn from the headlines, but a great story, and pretty well done movie. It wasn't my favorite recommendation, but checked it out last night. Of
What's that
course,
on Netflix?
Yeah, I don't know. The wife just presses all the buttons, so it was either on Netflix or no. I think we had to rent it, so it might have been
Okay.
Amazon Prime or one of those
Oh,
other
okay.
services. Yeah, but of course, the drums are beating for Furiosa, which is opening
Yes.
this week. So
Yeah, I got tickets. I'm a
yeah, right.
going.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
a
a hot
going.
ticket right there. Yeah. So yeah, my brother's gonna check it out with me. I don't know when I'm gonna get to see it, honestly, but I think probably Memorial Day holiday. I'm gonna have to wait for. So that's gonna be exciting. But I hope it's as good as I think it's gonna be
Oh,
because
I
I
don't know how we
love
can mess it
Fury Road.
up.
Really thought Fury
Oh yeah.
Road was good.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, the world of movies and. Also, I stopped off on a couple of YouTube videos this week, seeing some interesting comic stuff. But I don't know, nothing I would, nothing that I can remember the name of. But I'm, ever since kayfabe is gone, I'm sometimes
Yeah.
scouting around. Like usually when my wife goes to sleep at night, she just hands me the remote, and so
Right.
it's like, here now you can be in charge of the TV. So that's all happening. But I did, I did search up. I am looking for the next cool thing in comics, and I think I saw like well, I told you I saw that long Elf Quest history a couple weeks ago. I think if people haven't seen that, all about the peonies, I just wanted to mention that one more time. And I think kayfabe is posting up like some old videos because I do see them in my feed. And I think
They're
this is
the
either
um, they're the
unreleased or
Kincaid Fabers. They're the Kincaid Faber recordings. So every Thursday morning, Ed and Jib would get together for 3 to 5 hours and record the coming week's episodes. But they would do it live and record it through YouTube, and then obviously whatever comics they were, that whole kayfabe effect, where whatever comic they were digging up and talking about, was going to be hard to get or really expensive. So those Patreon contributors, Kincaid Fabers, were getting there first. So that, yeah, they're opening up. There's one right now I'm getting through. It's like 3.5 hours long, but it's with Tom Scioli and
yeah.
Warren, Uncle Warren, who does the founder, organizer for Small Press Expo. So that's
Okay.
always fun. But it's just the camera going into the room and them recording. So it's more of like a background audio type of thing than watching
Yeah,
people
I
just
think I
flipping
think
through
that's the
anything.
exact same thing that showed up in my feed. So now I'm wondering if that was like promoted so that it gets out there. But yeah, the kayfabe era is over or never be the same, and still no announcement from Jim Rugg, right? That
Yeah,
and
I don't.
his next project, he's probably still shook up. Um, I think somebody else died in comics because I saw some RIP things this week, but I didn't click through the link. We've been really busy, so maybe we'll catch up next week with an update if it was somebody that we'd like to spotlight. Um, One thing that did happen this week is remember that Brazilian artist that I was hiring or working with for the B movie She Devil idea,
Yeah,
and I had him do like kind of like a tryout page,
yeah,
and we were having some troubles with the translation. I would give him a script page, and sometimes things would not exactly be as described, and he doesn't speak English, so we never really talked in person. We're just talking through like translation apps and GPT or whatever. But he hit me up again. He's looking for work, and so and he's pretty good. I mean, you saw his stuff.
yeah.
So So I will share the page that he did for B Movie She Devils, so Kurt can put it on the screen now. Uh, of course, I'll be sharing this later, so Kurt hasn't seen it yet. But this is what it looks like, and it's kind of nice. I like his style. I just don't think that this is the right fit for the B Movie She Devil project, and I told him so. But I also put out a question to him asking if he would like to do some other stuff, for the sci-fi timeline, or I mean, yeah, basically for the sci-fi timeline, because I basically offered him two other projects if he's interested. One would be the Esoterra Hellclaw part of the timeline, which is a little superhero-ish, but it's like post superhero because it talks about superheroes as corny and as not real and everything, but that's going to be part of the storyline. And the other thing is, of course, the prequel to Turbo, which includes Elavena and all of those different side stories that we're putting on the Substack in prose. What I was thinking for that is, if he's interested, I would see if I can get him to do the illustrations, so that all I have to do is the writing, and then I could put up installments, because I can write really quick, and sometimes I write when I'm driving, and I just have like a text app. So well, I'll see if he comes back and he's interested. But this is a pretty good artist named JP Torres, and I think he's trying to support himself down and his family down in Brazil with comic work. So if anybody wants to search him up online, I think I found him on either Facebook Connecting Artists and Writers or Reddit. I forget which, but I told him I was down to hire him, for a couple of pages here and there, but nothing real special. So just fill in work if he was up for it. I would be cool with that too, because I love seeing other artists' interpretation of my stuff and my writing, my ideas. And he's a good artist. He is. He's just um, for B Movie She Devils, that is something that is set in 1961, and I don't think he was capturing that. And it's also a kind of like shock exploitation comic, which I don't think he was really capturing either. When I mentioned Russ Meyer, he hadn't heard of him, so he was like, "I'll do the research," but I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of like you have to have lived through it." So that was my update. What about you? How is all your collabs doing nowadays?
Oh wow! Oh geez, yeah. Let me real quick show off this.
So I know you got the Crom happening, right? You have a bunch of different people you're working with.
Yeah. So, I'm steadily working on finished these pages. Well, these are just printout samples. These are some spot illustrations I showed off last week. Let me grab them. So this is all this is my revised edition of Crom the Barbarian Collected. And what I did is I have redone these pages, which were in ballpoint pen, and put them up into a more value rendered. I will also be putting in the 4 original Golden Age Crown the Barbarian stories. It's going to be a black and white 8.5 by 11 book. But I'm going to be adding a prose story that I manipulated from some original Gardner Francis Fox text pulp story he did in 1952 for Planet Stories called Warlock of Sharador, and I just called it the Crom and the Warlock of Sharador. It was a funky space opera kind of thing, and all I had to do was just tweak their wacky idea of futuristic technology and science and turn them into sorcery, to give it more of a sword and
Uh-huh.
sorcery feel. But just to give everybody an idea, I did 36 spot illustrations for a 36-page pro story that'll have these inset thumbnails. But you get an idea. This is to size. It's about 7x7, and then they got shot down to a little less, about 3.6 by 3.6. And this is one of the things I just absolutely love about comic books and illustrating stories is the reduction and reproduction. There's something about my head once I started getting into it that I love making something big and then watching it tighten up and then be in a, multi-printed publication. So, I also added, I scanned a piece of newsprint and I have it in the back, so you can already see that there's a grayness to the paper that I'm going to be adding. So it's not going to be a stark white, which I don't like,
Uh-huh.
stark white and black. And that's about 30% opacity. But yeah, I'm super excited. This week coming, I'll be doing a lot of layouts for the book, and then getting the artist proofs done. I had also got, you'll get a copy, Jake, because I'm going to want to have you on the crumthebarbarian.com blog. And I also do a video blog called Crom Updates on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. I'll put a link to both of those things. But I got 5 other artists, guest artists, that just have done some amazing interpretations. We got Jason Schoonover, and then we
Wow.
got Nat. Yeah, and Jason just finished, and he's got a sweet cover that he just did, and he's sending us copies. I gave him your new address, so we're going to be getting new Gut and Ghost mini comics. This is Drawn Sword. He's out of New Zealand. I love Drawn Sword's work.
Yeah, he's super detailed.
Oh, and this is to size, by the way. He works at A4 level paper size, and
Uh-huh.
this is pretty much 100. It's 1-to-1 relationship to it. Adam Dodds, he does this thing called gobbledygook, googly gobbledygook doodles. So I had him just sort of work that together, and then let's see. There it is. Here it is. And then channel favorite, David Molina. So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Now the thing is that they're on their own
that's
thing
cool.
right now, but I have a follow-up production publication that I'm going to be doing after Crown the Barbarian collected revised edition. Obviously has come out, and we've already started working with the the guest artists. And right now, David Molina and I are working on an old pulp story called The Last Druid. Came out in 1960 by a guy by the name of Joseph Kellum. And it looks like he's laying out right now 6 pages. We did an episode that'll air in a couple weeks on the Crown Update. He's going to do the pencil layouts, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll be doing the inking. But
Oh,
in between that, we are hoping to get you to come on and give us your feedback on David Molina's layouts for the story, and then of course he'll make the adjustments based on that, and then we'll be going into
oh, that'll be
him.
fun.
It is. So yeah, the anthology is what it's going to be. It's going to be called Crom Anthology, because I do have other supporting Crom material that I want to get completed or get done
Mm-hmm.
and printed, and then there'll be a whole bunch of backup material that's either reprinted material or new material that I'd be working with um, guest artists. So that's
Right.
where I am spending pretty much all of my time. other than other
Yeah,
things.
so that's quite a collab update. So you got your hands in a lot of different what is that expression? You have your irons and a lot of fires. That's
Fires,
the old
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And people should be doing this. If you are a lone wolf, see what you can do with other people, because
Absolutely.
it might be quicker for you to you know put your comic work into an anthology, and put it out, get some audience reaction, and you can see maybe some valuable insight as far as adjustments that you want to make on the fly, but also just being able to work with other people. um, the real big comic companies, they have like 50 or 100 things going on at the same time. They got people working on stuff, and then the indie comic companies, they might have a dozen or half a dozen, depends on the size of the company. And it's a great world of people that are willing to sometimes work on spec, which means work on their own time on a project that might see the light of day if you're a publisher, or even if you're just another artist, you can then join forces to publish. So this is the age of self-publishing that we're in right now. And you know it's not as hard as it used to be to find audiences, if that's what you're looking to do.
It is time
So
consuming. I don't want us to give this easier than that. But the thing I do want to back you up on is collaboration, because I can't express my gratitude to Jake enough for taking care of the things that I don't like taking care of. Not the favorite things I like to do. Penciling, believe it or not, is not like a thing I gravitate to, because I do have just certain issues that don't seem to coincide with maybe, let's say contemporary storytelling. I get a little too artsy fartsy on this stuff, but I love inking. I love inking. Can do it all day, all night. So yeah, that's what it is. And then two, with my collaborations, I'm always repeating to them in the videos, or when we're doing catch up updates and the such, is that you know there is this thing that you want to be as professional as possible, but professionalism breaks down into sort of segments. And one of the segments, I think, and I've fallen prey to it, can harm your publication, is rushing things, feeling like you've got to rush it to market, get it out there, make your money back, don't spend too. I've really fallen out of favor with that idea. So I say to my collaborators, take your time, don't stress out. They all
yeah, me
have
too.
lives. They all have lives and families and maybe a job, or they're doing other illustrations for pay. But I really want them to feel a sense of joy and excitement when they can return to the project, and it's not a, let's say, a business type thing that that makes you anxious. So I'm going to be getting a rush job out of you, and we're just not going to have something
Yeah,
immortal.
lasting. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
lasting.
So yeah, when I was in my 20s and I got my first paid art assignment, from a publisher, small indie publisher, I was like, wow, this is my dream. I've been working for this. I've been working on my portfolio, going to cons, getting feedback. I've been sending out, sample packages, been getting rejections. And here I am. I got my first assignment. And, it was only an 8-pager, but I was doing pencils and inks. So when I was freaking miserable. Why? I had a full-time job, Kurt.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
was,
yeah,
I was like 25 years old or something like that.
yep.
And, it takes all the damn fun out of it when you're bone weary and you have to come home at night and do this because you're on a deadline. And, they have the whole, comic already solicited and diamond previews and blah, blah, blah. And no, now don't get me wrong, I would love to have gotten that assignment and just be full time. But the other thing was I can't forget I can't remember how much I was getting paid, but I don't I might have been getting like 60 a page. I was working for Comic Zone Publishers. It was basically a comic store that was putting out indie comics in the day,
Yeah,
and
out in New Jersey, just across the river from me.
right. I never even met the Bebo actually,
Yeah, I
but
did.
it was they were the right tier for me because I was just starting out and I was trying to get my feet wet. And I thought I did good art. They loved it, and I got paid. Finished on time. But I that's when I basically just stopped because I realized I might have been good enough. I worked up to get good enough, but I wasn't fast enough. And
Yeah.
that's where you got to really tip your cap to people like you know Jack Kirby, of course, he's the number one people that you cite. But I look at somebody like Paul Galisi or Dave Sims, somebody who had a long run of just consistency, right? You can put Todd McFarlane in there, whoever just met their deadlines day after day, week after week, year after year. Yeah, I mean, if you get somebody in comic history that had like a 1 year run with 12 issues, that's an amazing accomplishment. That
Yeah, yeah.
means you probably put off all of the weddings and graduations in your personal life, to get that done. And sometimes you hear about this in the interviews. Yeah, I just like to stay home, I don't go out too much, stuff like that. And then you get the other stories, which was I think it was Jim Lee or Jay Lee. They got 1 million comics like pre-orders on Diamond when they first started Image, and they immediately bought a motorcycle and went cross country, and then blew every single deadline, and that, and then never we really got the trust of the retailers after that. So life is people want to do what they enjoy in life. If you like to draw, if you like comics, draw and make comics. But the problem is, I think, when you say, wow, I want to get published, and I really want like public acclaim and all that. For that you really need a plan. You really need a plan. People can very badly underestimate how much time it takes to get that off the ground, get something in print, and then the expectation that you're going to make money. It really is just it's a slog with just being real here. There's thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people who do comics that don't make a dime, and we all just look at all the big pros and we say, "Oh, I want to do that," but it doesn't work that way. Even the pros are not what they used to be too. And people should be clear-eyed about what's going on. And Kurt and I talk about that every week. Um, you know, it's like enjoy comics, make your comic. If it doesn't even see print, you can still do your own self-publishing thing, share it with your friends, family, in your local circles, and you don't have to feel like you're a failure or anything like that because nowadays it could get discovered on a podcast, and you could, maybe find your audience, that way. Just, be patient. And, same thing with, I mean, art in general. How many artists have there been out there that were only discovered after they're dead? And then they had a cult following. How many music bands or recording artists, were discovered later in life and became a cult following. So all that kind of stuff happens. And if you really are doing it for the art and you just want people to see it and appreciate it, it's all possible, even if you're not there anymore. And there's no better example than that than the Picassos of the world, who they were successful in relative terms. In other words, they just supported themselves with their art, and that's all they did all day. But Picasso
I heard a
never.
really cool piece of history. I'm a fine artist junkie at heart, next to comic books, and so I watch a lot of like just like college level lectures about artists and
Yeah.
history. And this was about Matisse, I believe. Matisse,
Okay.
and then there was something about Picasso in there, and the presenter said, "Yeah, there's a wonderful quote in one of Gloria in shit, what was her name? I don't not Gloria Stein, Gertrude Stein,
So
Gertrude
yeah.
Stein, who was, basically her and her brother were held up in Paris, really cultivating the modern art movement. And a very young uh, Pablo Picasso was talking to her and complaining that Matisse was getting, all of the attention, as a modern painter. And Picasso says, what about me? And Gertrude Stein leans into him and says, look, you're in line. Just wait your turn. And
Right.
it's in her biography for that. So it's we really have a thing about mythic mytholog was it
Mythology.
mythologizing? Yeah,
Oh,
mythologizing.
mythology.
Uh, artists and stuff and stories obviously can kind of come around. And I am one that you know has fallen prey to it and still falls prey to it. But it's your life, it's your creativity, it's what you should be putting into it energy wise. And the expectations, and this is another famous quote somebody said, it's never art until they say so. Man, I
Right.
love that. I love that. So when you
Yeah.
go, oh, here, I'm an artist, and here's my art. Here, I'm an artist. You're kind of harming yourself. You're harming yourself because you're kind of tooting your own horn and you're expecting people to kind of follow along with it. And yes, it's very easy and it's easier to hold a conversation with somebody who is outside of the arts and call yourself
Uh-huh.
an artist. And here's my art. But I always, in my own sense of my of maintaining, like, say, sanity about things, is I'm a very creative person. I enjoy being creative. I like solving problems creatively, and I love
Uh-huh.
drawing. And that's what I do. And
Right.
that's usually what I tell people. And of course, they come back and they say, "Oh, you're an artist." Yeah, okay, I'm an artist because you said it, not me.
Yeah. Well, to some extent, you have to toot your own horn, especially if you're like doing
Oh,
a resume trying
sure,
to get a job or something. But
sure.
your past accomplishments speak for you.
Yep.
That's an artist has a portfolio, and people can just look right at it and see what you do and make up their mind. But yeah, what I was going to say about Picasso is that Picasso never saw the millions or the tens of millions that his daughter saw, and it's like that with a lot of artists where the estate is rich beyond their wildest dreams, and the artist might have just had like a middle class life. um, and I remind people what I said to Kurt a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 3 weeks ago, about the tennis player and the watch repair man.
Yeah, I love
If you live a middle class life, and you get to make art all day, you might be better off that way than with all the millions. 'Cause, when people get into
yes.
excesses,
Yeah.
drinking and drugs and mansions and estates and everybody, all kinds of hangers on and entourages and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say, it wouldn't be cool to have like, a cool 5 million, sell a painting for $1 million while you're alive. Because, maybe you can say, hey, I want to set up a studio and get 20 apprentices. I mean, that's kind of what Warhol did. But it's a very fickle world. You mentioned fine art, and like that's the claim that somebody might make, say, I'm a fine artist, right? Because I've always considered myself more of a commercial artist. And comics is part of that, but it's also the jobs I've had, and the things that I've done. Last couple of decades, I've been making poster art mostly. But before that, I was a graphic designer. Before I became a teacher, I was a graphic designer. That's how I paid the rent. I did Quark, Photoshop, all that kind of stuff. And it's all design art. It's all in the world. But fine art means you're sticking something up on a wall in a gallery, or you're having some kind of performance. And museums are looking at you, and coffee table books and all that. That whole world. So it's it's really a wide open field. Art is just so all encompassing. Art could be so many different things. And here in this comic podcast, we are just making our comic. We're taking our time. Not that we have a choice, but we also have a plan here, and the plan is that in a couple of years, we'll be able to retire and spend a lot more time, during the week, actually making stuff. And I have a vision of Turbo Pitfighter being a graphic novel on the stands in stores where people can buy it and see it, and then we'll go out and do some cons, and we'll submit them for reviews, and all that stuff, and see what happens after there. But I would definitely love to ride out on the sunset, making comics, till the day I die, or comics and other type of art. It might be some writing too, and one of these days I hope to also get back into animation too, because those are some of the things that I've done before. I like to teach kids, these kind of skills, and of course, doing it yourself. Animation is such a freeing art form, because it's like comics with the motion, sound, and it's a lot of labor. But we're going to see what kind of AI tools come out to speed that up. And
So speaking of comic book conventions, I just received a email or notification through the Indie Comics Creator Con IC3.
Yep.
This is from Mark Sardo. They have announced next year's 2025 second anniversary event there, March 15th, 2025. So I'm is it Matthew Sardo? Sorry. So we also need to start talking about getting a booth and yeah, and making that happen for next year, because I think we'll definitely have stuff.
Yeah, we'll
And I
definitely
don't
have
want to.
stuff, but I wonder if that that show, relatively small show. It sounds like it was successful. It sounds like they're building. Um, but you wonder if you're better off being another table in the artist alley of a bigger show, because what is the goal? Is it to reach end user consumers, or is it
Well,
supposed to be
you won't get
being part
anybody.
of the net?
You won't get any sales at a larger show. The reason I want to do the IC3 is it is more like a trade organizational kind of thing, an
Right.
industry trade type of thing, because we do the indie creator exchange. I would love to be able to have real
Network.
conversations in real time, but
Yeah.
also be able to meet people, do some exchanging, keeping things going. Because when it comes to indie comics, you need a lot of word of mouth. And I think the podcast thing is great. We're up to 823 subscribers. So if you're a
Wow,
subscriber,
it keeps
thank you.
growing.
Thank you. We really just want to get to 1,000. My personal goal is just to see that 1,000 number hit, because
Yeah.
we know we're not doing something that's conventionally, makes sense. A lot of people say they don't watch our videos because they're waiting for the comic, and then once they get the comic, they'll go back and watch the videos. But I just want to be able to keep that pace with people, put a face to an art, because we never show our faces. Not that either one of us are ugly. It's just that we both agreed that it's not relevant to making art to just show um, two people sitting there talking about art. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna pull the trigger quite yet, because you and I need to make some decision on that.
Yeah.
As partners here. But I definitely am interested in going, and we'll see what comes around and how we want to handle that over the next couple of weeks. But you got to get your stuff aligned with the move and everything. So I don't want to put any pressure on you. Just wanted to give you that announcement, as well as everybody else,
Yeah.
that
I'm also
IC3 May 15th, 2025.
yeah, and my move, and also got to remember, my move is a rental, so
Yes, yes, you would be.
I could have another move in the not too
Yeah,
distant
yeah,
future
yeah,
too.
yeah.
If we find something, so
Right.
you know, and it might be hard in this market. Buying houses in New York is like, you know, you need a little bit of luck and a little bit of and a huge bag of cash. So I don't know, how long it's going to take. The market's pretty messed up, but we're just going to be renting, and I'm setting up my new office to just be able to do pages and continue on this pace. I think if we had to promote later rather than sooner, um, I don't mind. I'm not at the point where it's like, it's so fun. Sit there at a table and for especially like 2 days. Is that a 2 day show? I forget.
No, one.
1 day
It's
show,
only
right?
one
So
day.
yeah,
Yeah,
at
but
least
they
it's only one
do.
day.
I think there's a hotel about a couple minute drive away that everybody's at, and so there were other event type things. I used to
Yeah, I
do.
mean
I
that's
used to.
probably where all the action is, right? Is that at the
Yeah, yeah,
hotel,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah, I used to
everyone's
do
making.
IX, which was the imaginative realism fantasy art show up in Reading, and they were in a hotel. Everybody was held up at a hotel, staying in there, and then there was an artist showcase, which I would be in Friday and Saturday nights. But the main show was down in the Goggle Eye Works
Yeah.
arts building. But it was so much more about meeting people and networking and
Yep.
and I always did it. I scheduled my sort of business planning around that show, because it was like the beginning. It was the end and the beginning of my year creatively. So it was whatever was coming out of that, work wise, or relationship with somebody who wanted to work together, or whatever.
Hmm.
It was a good thing. But I really believe that in indie comics, kind of keeping yourself noticeable, and people wanting to talk about your work, and that kind of thing. I think it would behoove us. So
Yeah, and I think it'd be interesting. That I think that's where all the the real partnerships get made. You're not in a noisy hall with people interrupting you every minute.
yeah.
Um, and there's going to be some hookups, for sure. But that's all fun. I mean, people understand that comic conventions, when you get a whole bunch of creators all in the same place at the same time, and then you have relationships that get formed, and things, antics ensue. So yeah, that'll be fun, because you know it's we have the podcast, so it's interesting for us just to talk to any creator, just to see if they want to get spotlighted. But then also interesting to talk to publishers. We're still, learning the biz, the latest biz. You want to find out, how other people are doing it, if they have any kind of like, audience that overlaps with yours. You can cross pollinate, all those good things that we talk about.
So we're over 45 minutes, Jake. So that was all I had for this episode. Is there anything else that you
knew with this? Let me pull my camera back. So I've been working in my sketchbook here and there, and I'm showing you kind of like these madcap, like text blocks here that I read, and it's like really, really helping me keep these notes. This is actually going to be a sketch that I made of. I'll send you a photo of this so you can post it proper. But this is a sketch of Elevena and Young Turbo. Elevena and Young Turbo. When they're going to meet up in the prison episode. And I have some notes here that I'll run by you next episode. But, we want to try to make sense of the story and the plot. So the notes are like, why send the prototype to Elevena? That's the question that we need to ruminate on, Kurt.
Okay.
Because Turbo in issue 2, which I'm penciling, she picks up the prototype from the pharmacist, and it's supposed to be a game changer for the resistance. Turbo brings it back to the orphanage to find out it's under siege, and in her dying breath, Sister Ray tells her, "You got to bring this to Elevena, who is in a prison, and get it to her." So we just need to figure out the why, what is going to happen, and so if we can just bookmark that for next time, that'll be a question for us to discuss. And so I guess next week we will be doing a Turbo update, Turbo story update. How about that, Kurt?
Yeah, sounds good to me. All righty then.
Yeah.
Another great episode, and I will see you next week.
All righty then.